Hi, this is an exam revision video to support Cutting Edge Intermediate Unit 11. In this unit, the grammar we did was obligation and permission in the present, obligation and permission in the past, and the vocabulary we did was linking words and crime and punishment. So first, obligation and permission in the present. These are modal verbs, special words that carry a special meaning, and obligation and permission is basically rules. So here's an example. We have Emirati men and Emirati women. You could say young men in the UAE have to do military service. Young women in the UAE don't have to do military service. So the verbs we're looking at is have to here. And these words mean it's necessary. You need to do it. Have to, it's a rule that men do it. Don't have to, it's not a rule that women do it. Then we have something like this, parking. It's a similar kind of thing. You can park here, you can't park here. This is permitted. This means somebody says it's okay, they allow you to do it. You can or you can't. And then we have two people wearing sunglasses. This guy looks good, this one not so good with these sunglasses. You should wear those sunglasses, they look good. You shouldn't wear those sunglasses, they look terrible. So this is a recommendation. This is when you're saying it's a good idea or not. You should do this, you shouldn't do that. So here's a review of all of them. Let's look at how we form it in the positive, negative, and question. This was the meaning. Now let's look at the form. So we have you can, must, should do military service. You are allowed, have got, ought to do military service. Notice with these ones we have the word to, but with can we don't have. You can to do military service. Okay, so be careful with which ones use to and which ones don't. For negative, you put not after the verb. So we have can't, mustn't, shouldn't do military service, aren't allowed to, don't have to, haven't got to. So notice with these ones, it comes with the auxiliary verb, the are, the do, the have. And so for the questions, this is same like in tenses where we swap around the subject. You would say, can you do military service? Should you do military service? And when there's an auxiliary and a verb, we split it up. So it's, are you allowed to do military service? Do you have to do military service? Have you got to do military service? And let's go on to just expand on the meaning a little more. What we covered earlier was the basic meaning, the necessary, the permitted, the recommendation, but they can go a bit more. So necessary, we have must, have to, and have got to do. So these mean the same things, must, have to, and have got to, more or less the same. Then we have something like this, we must visit your grandfather in hospital. It's like a recommendation, but it's something you give upon yourself. I must do this. It's something you feel that you want to make a rule for yourself. Think about the first one. This is the government that makes the rule, but in the second one, you are making the rule. Have to and have got to is when another person gives you the rule. So in this one, I have to do my homework, I've got to do my homework. This is because your teacher says it. It's similar to the first one. Students must go to room 4. We use for a sign. When it's a sign, we would use must. But if we're just speaking, you would probably say have to or have got to go to room 4. It means the same thing, but must is a bit stronger. Now this is for negatives. You don't have to come to class tomorrow. You haven't got to come to class tomorrow means it's not needed. You mustn't come to class tomorrow is a rule. This means there will be problems if you come to class. Do not come. So again, must is a bit stronger in the negative. So these are all the rules for all the uses of the words for necessary: must, have to, and have got to. Then let's look at permission. Now for permission we had can, can't. You can park here. Also, you're allowed to park here. You can't park here and you aren't allowed to park here means it's not permitted. But again, you mustn't park here means on the sign it's a strong you mustn't park here. If you put you can't park here, people might think it's not a rule and I'll park here anyway. And then for recommendations, the sunglasses photo, you should wear those sunglasses. Also, you ought to wear those sunglasses. Notice the spelling of ought to, it's a bit strange. Ought to wear these sunglasses. You have to wear those sunglasses and you must wear those sunglasses is the same as should, but it's a lot stronger. It might be, the sun will hurt your eyes, whereas the first one is they look good. The second one is quite a strong recommendation because the sun will be bright. You should not wear those sunglasses. It means I recommend you don't. Okay, so quite a lot to take in from obligation and permission in the present. Lots of meanings, lots of uses. And now let's look at linking words. Linking words are words that will bring two sentences together to make them more fluent and stronger sentences. So we have three very common examples: and, but, and so. You know how these words work, but if you want to show your writing to be more advanced, a higher level, then you should not use these words if you can. So let's look at and. My cousin is a doctor and an excellent cook. So he is two things. Another way to use and is my cousin is a doctor, he is also an excellent cook. My cousin is a doctor, besides, he is an excellent cook. My cousin is a doctor, what's more, he is an excellent cook. So these three words are slightly more advanced ways to use the word for and notice how we use them. I'll cover that in a minute. But my sister never stops working, but she is happy. So this is two things, but we're giving the opposite more or less. So my sister never stops working. You think she's unhappy, but no, she is happy. So I'm giving an opposite feeling. Another way to say but, although my sister never stops working, she is happy. My sister never stops working. Despite this, she is happy. My sister never stops working. However, she is happy. So these three words are other ways to say but. And then we have so. The example here is more people live in the city, so the cost of a house is high. So it's giving you a reason for something. Sorry, a consequence of something. So we also have more people live in the city. As a result, the cost of a house is high. More people live in the city. For this reason, the cost of the house is high. More people live in the city. Therefore, the cost of a house is high. So again, these are more advanced ways to use so. So review these and try to get used to using them in your writings, especially. One thing to be careful is the word order. Notice some words come in a different place in the sentence. So let's look at also. My cousin is a doctor. He's also an excellent cook. He also cooks excellent food. He has also been learning to cook. This is also just going in a different place. After to be, before the verb. But when there's an auxiliary and a verb, it goes between them. Then we have the word although, which was same as but. Although my sister never stops working, she is happy. It's one sentence and it comes at the start. But you could also have my sister is happy, although she never stops working. So it can go in the middle. And then for most of the others, the other ones I showed you before, besides, what's more, despite this, they can come start, middle, or end of the second sentence. So in these ones, we had one sentence for also, for although we had one sentence. But for the others, we would have two. More people live in the city, therefore the cost of a house is high. More people live in the city, their cost of the house, therefore, is high. More people live in the city, the cost of a house is high, therefore. So it can come at different parts of the sentence. Generally speaking, it's easier to put it at the start, but you can see it in other places. Now we look at the vocabulary of crime and punishment. So these are things that involve the police when people do crimes and what happens afterwards. So crimes, there are different ones and I don't have enough pictures to show, but we have murder, which is here, burglary, when you take something from a house, shoplifting, take something from a shop, mugging, which is going on here when you take something in the street, and kidnap, when you actually take a person. Does not have to be a kid, by the way. A kidnap can be also an adult. Verbs: be sent to prison, which is what's happened up here. Commit a crime. Be arrested, which is happening here. Get caught, so the police catch you, we say get caught. Be sentenced. So sentence, although it's a load of words together, it can also be a judge sending you to prison. Steal, to take something, and solve a crime, find the answer to a crime. Punishment. So we have lots of different ways people can be punished for crime. The death penalty, where you get killed for this. Community service, which is soft and it would be something where you help people in the community. A prison sentence, so jail time when you go behind bars. And hanging is possible, so when they kill you with a rope. The people involved in crime and punishment, we have the judge, the person who gives the sentence, the defendant. This is before you're found to be a criminal, you're a defendant. A prisoner, if you're in prison. A criminal, this is when the police say you did a crime. A murderer, someone who murders. A robber, a mugger, so someone who takes things from other people. And then kidnapper, which is someone who steals a person. So try to learn all of these words. There's lots of difficult spellings to learn here. And then finally we had obligation and permission in the past. So before we did must and have to and can and all these. So this is comparing it to the past. I must do military service. I have to do military service. I've got to do military service. All the same thing. But in the past, we can't say musted or had got to. Just sounds so strange to even say. You must use I had to do military service. So you could say, when I was 20 years old, I had to do military service. And for permission in the past, which was can, in the present we have you can park here or you are allowed to park here. And in the past we change can to you could park here, and allowed to becomes you were allowed to park here. So these are the simple ways to talk about obligation and permission in the past. Remember, had to, not musted or had got to. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Some difficult language there to learn. The grammar we did was obligation and permission in the present and in the past. And the vocabulary we did was linking words, which would improve your writing. And we did crime and punishment.